What is going on, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you my APA Little Cup draft analysis, also week 1. So this is a Wi-Fi league, and the reason why the week 1 is just going to be tacked on at the end here is because I didn't have a capture card. It just didn't come in until week 2, so after this I'll be getting up all my games. But yeah. Also, the slides look off probably because I just couldn't figure out how to get Photoshop working for the life of me. So I just did what any person would do, which is screenshot the background and then just try to make it all work. Yeah, so they probably look a little off, but I tried to emulate as best as I could. So yeah, as you can see on your screen, fairly self-explanatory for points. We get a tier 1, 2 tier 2s, 2 tier 3s, a tier 4, and 4 free Pokemon. 4 free Pokemon, we have points. Tier 1s cost 80, 60, 40, 20. Yeah, and then you had 200 free points. So some combination, most often it was like a tier 1, a tier 2, a tier 3, or a tier 4, or like a tier 1 and 3 tier 3s were often just what people did. It was just the easiest thing to do. So yeah, let's just get right into it. We had 14th pick out of 16, which meant that yeah, we had to wait a real long time to get our Mon, and a lot of the best stuff went, like your Mienfus, your Volibes, your Gastlys, your Abras. They all went, and I was torn between the Mon that I picked and Galarian Ponyta. That Mon just seemed super fun to use, but I decided to grab Carvanha. This thing is just hyper offense the Pokemon. Speed boost for an ability is fantastic. You can make its HP down to 19, so that Life Orb chip is only 1 HP per turn. Fantastic coverage, really just hits everything super well. Water Dark is fantastic offensively, and it has Ice Fang or Ice Beam if you want to opt for special. It has Psychic Fangs. Unfortunately, it didn't get close combat like its big brother Sharpedo did, but yeah, it can still run coverage for everything. It also got Flip Turn, which just seems super fun to use. Really, I can start forming a momentum core with Carvanha because this thing calls for certain switch-ins, and then I have Mons who hopefully can abuse those switch-ins if I just click Flip Turn and get on out of there. But yeah, so that is my Carvanha. Up next, we only have to wait a couple of picks, but my next Mon up is Diglett. Diglett is such a great Pokemon in my opinion. Just trapping is so valuable. What it does, just like as a trapper, seems really strong. Especially if I get enough momentum to the point where my strong Pokemon, they all call for specific checks that Diglett can deal with. That just seems really nice. Like, just right now, Diglett has a fantastic time against rock types, fire types, steel types, and really anything that's just chipped down. I'll get to what it did week 1 later, but as for right now, it's just a fantastic Pokemon. Really just does a ton of stuff as a trapper. Best revenge killer in the game. Only Mon that hits 20 speed that is in the game right now, because Elekid and Voltorb are both not in as far as I'm aware, which means Diglett just hits a speed tier that no other Mon can get. It forces Scarfers or Shed Shells, both of which are really nice, especially Shed Shells. It basically means that they're not running an item, especially if I like just don't bring Diglett. Like, yeah, then you're just down an item. I guess one thing that I forgot to mention is the 2-item clause. So you can only bring like 2 Eviolites or 2 Berry Juices, or really 2 of anything. So let's say they have 3 Mons that they really want to bring that all die to Diglett. They're going to have to pick which 2 get the Shed Shell, and maybe not even bring one just because Diglett is super good. Yeah, and it's also really fast, which is a great pairing with Carvanha, I feel. Although they both do kind of force some Scarfers. Scarf Diglett is like a very niche bring, but it will just guaranteed outspeed them unless they have like something in good weather, basically. But yeah, that's my Diglett pick. Then we had to wait a while, but there was one Mon in tier 2 that I really liked. It basically it helps out my hazards just so much, and that is Natu. Magic Bounce is such a fantastic ability. Psychic and Flying are both great types in Little Cup. So I just figured, yeah, Natu just seems like a really valued pick. It's a fantastic special attacker. Also hits 17 speed just like Carvanha. But yeah, I feel like hitting the same speed as Carvanha isn't that bad when Carvanha just goes past you so quickly. Natu, great coverage. It has, obviously, it's dual stabs. It has U-turn. It has Heat Wave. It has Giga Drain, and that's really all it needs to hit everything. So yeah, Natu just seemed like a very valuable pick in tier 2. Just kind of quick, U-turn for momentum, very offensive, and this build I kind of wanted to make really hyper offensive. So yeah. Up next in tier 2, we decided to grab Litten. Originally I was going to grab Growlithe, but Growlithe was taken, so I just opted for the next best thing, which was Litten. Growlithe doesn't hit 17 speed, but Litten does, so I figured Growlithe would be nice to diversify my speed tiers. It's also a little bit bulkier, but Litten just seemed really solid. Parting Shot is such a good move, and if you look at these picks, we've got Momentum and Diglett, which just seems like really fun to use. Fire is a solid typing in Little Cup. It's nothing special, but it's still pretty good. It has solid coverage options. It has obviously dark moves just because of Incineroar. It has some fighting moves, I think. It has Leech Life. It has both U-turn and Parting Shot. Really the only situation where I see myself not running Parting Shot is against Pawniard. Just because if you Parting Shot into a Pawniard, all of a sudden you're sitting against a +3 Pawniard. And that is just not good at all. But yeah, that was the Litten pick. Just seemed like a very versatile mon in tier 2. And just a type that we didn't have yet. Up next, we had to wait a while, but I figured I would grab a tier 3 right now. And this tier 3, in my opinion, is pretty solid. Machop. Obviously, it's not one of those like super amazing, scary fighting types like your Timbers, like your Mienfoos, but it still does well. It's kind of slow, which is really its main difference over Mienfoo, but it has the same speed tier as Timber. And No Guard is a great ability to have. It has priority in Bullet Punch. It has it's great at holding a Scarf. No Guard Dynamic Punch is really fun, just forcing confusions, and Knockoff is the best move in Little Cup. So just being able to have something that spams that is really nice. But yeah, Machop just seems like a really fun option to play with. Tier 3 I felt was kind of a steal, obviously. I say this in main leagues too, but even like lower tier fighting types, they have that super high attack stat that's characteristic of fighting types, and so you can sort of opt to save some points by grabbing a lower tier fighting like I just did with this Machop. Yeah, but up next after that Machop, we just decided to wait for a couple picks, just 4 more, and then go back into tier 3. Or no, actually, go into tier 4. First ones to do so, to grab Grubbin. I really liked Grubbin. Just I think it is the best tier 4 Pokemon, maybe other than Dreepy. It just is a super consistent Weber as a lead. T-Wave is really nice to have as well. Volt Switch even for momentum. Got to keep that up. X-Scissor, and it can like actually not have a base stat total of 2 like Blipbug. So yeah, I've seen Grubbin used well on many teams, and it just seemed like webs would be a nice thing to have for like Natu, for Machop even, especially when teams just don't have good removal. Grubbin just seems like a super solid option to have. But yeah, I might have dove into tier 4 a little too early, but in my opinion it was worth it. Up next, we had to wait a while, and then we did dive back into tier 3. We decided to grab Oddish. Oddish seems like a really budget good pick in tier 3. It's super bulky. but it also hits really hard. So yeah, it has a grass poison, which is alright typing, but it has access to recovery in both strength stab and synthesis, or even moonlight. I think it has sleep powder, stun spore, just kind of can do all of that. Really seems like a solid support Pokemon for the team. But yeah, that's my Oddish set. So let's head into our next Pokemon, and we see it is the Sinistea. Unfortunately, just because of the way that breeding works in Pokemon, Sinistea isn't allowed to run Shell Smash, which is just but obviously I think it would be at least tier 2, even tier 1 if it could run Shell Smash. But just the way that levels work in Pokemon, or the way that breeding works, is that you need, I believe, for level up moves, both parents to know the move, and because Sinistea is genderless, it has to breed with Ditto, and so yeah, just can't run really any of those moves, which is unfortunate, but you'll live. Weak Armor is a solid ability with Nasty Plot. It can like even hold Focus Sash, or it can endure to get Weak Armor procced. It can even click, or it can even endure Weakness Policy. Seems like a really fun strategy, like with Knockoff being super common and whatnot. Sinistea could just be really fun as a sweeper. Not sure how often it comes, just because the 7 Mons picked before it are really good. And spoiler alert, we get another tier 2 because right now we've got a free tier 1 and a free tier 3, and the options in tier 3 were kind of just winding down, so I wanted to grab some tier 2s, or at least one more tier 2. Obviously those options were also winding down, but yeah, it's 16 man in Little Cup in Galar decks, so there isn't too many options to pick from. But up next, pretty much on our last wheel of picks, we decided to grab Alolan Meowth, bridging the speed tiers to make sure that the 19 speed Mons, because they're all very threatening, making them have to run plus speed to speed type this thing was just like really nice. And some teams just like don't go above base 7 or above 17 speed. So while Meowth isn't quite the strongest, its ability to just run sets that let it boost up with Nasty Plot. I believe it also has Parting Shot and U-Turn, just like Litten. It seems like a really fun Mon with momentum to utilize. And it can kind of just do a lot of things. Its move pool is surprisingly good. I believe it has like Technician boosted Shockwaves and Water Pulses and Icy Winds. That all just seem like really fun options to play with, not to mention solid Dark Stab and Nasty Plot, just to keep that all going along with momentum. But yeah, that's my second to last pick. And finally, last pick, we had to do it for the boys. We grabbed Toxel. There was nothing else in tier 4 that was going to come to a game, unironically. So yeah, Toxel. He's my boy. Obviously, Toxtricity is his second favorite Pokemon. And Shelmet got taken already by someone else, and it was at a different tier. So we had to grab Toxel, the boy. Yeah, but now I guess I'll just go over what happened week 1. Week 1, we faced Jack, and his team was really threatening. I don't remember everything on it off the top of my head, but I remember the main thing that I was prepping for was Grookey. And so yeah, as I pull up his team, just Grookey kind of runs through my team. It's a stop to Diglett, which was the main thing, was that it just did super well versus Diglett. But I had Oddish for it, thankfully, which was a nice stop to that thing. And then I was just kind of fiddling around with my other sets just to try to make everything else work. But here's Jack's team. Grookey, Growlithe, Stuffle, Impidimp, Rhyhorn, Blipbug, Slowpoke, Clink, Electrike, and Seedot. And what he brought was Grookey, Growlithe, Stuffle, Impidimp, Rhyhorn, and Seedot. I'm not sure why he didn't bring Slowpoke, although Carvana can just deal with it. So kind of just the pace of the early game was I led, or I brought Carvana, Natu, Machop, Oddish, Diglett, and Meowth. I was really tempted to bring Grubbin just because his team had no removal, but his team also capped out at base 17, or not base 17, at 17 points. So yeah, I just didn't feel like webs were necessary. He led he led Stuffle, and I led Machop, or not Machop. I led Natu, which for me was just a great lead. It forced him to go Impidimp turn 1, and I just fired off a U-turn. I'm not really 100% sure, but basically after that, it was kind of just a really back and forth game. I'm pretty sure I was able to pick one of his mons off early with Diglett as a revenge kill because he took out one of my mons, and then his Growlithe was setting up. I had like 3 turns of confusion on it with Dynamic Punch, and it just didn't decide to hit itself. It was like Curse, Morning Sun, but I got it down to 50%, and it was only cursed up like 3 times, I think. So Diglett was able to come in, pick that thing off. Then I was able to fire off a kill with, or then I was able to stop Grookey with Oddish. It was very close. Oddish lived on 1 HP, only to be revenged by C-Dot, the legend. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it was a roll for C-Dot to even do 2 damage to Oddish quad resisted, but might not have been. So then I just go Natu and fire off an Air Slash, really free. And yeah, and then I got myself in a position where it looked like Carvana was it was ready. So Carvana, it was in front of Impidimp, so I knew Impidimp's prankster moves couldn't do anything. So Impidimp went for T-Wave, and obviously I was immune from prankster, and I was able to kill the Impidimp. Rhyhorn comes out. For a second I was like, oh shoot, this thing has Sturdy, but then I remembered it is a Rhyhorn, and in fact does not have Sturdy. I fire off a Liquidation, and oh shit, here he has a Pasho Berry, and I was like, oh, do I not kill? But no, thankfully Carvana is just super strong, so I was able to kill the Rhyhorn. And lastly was the C-Dot. I fire off an Ice Fang into the C-Dot, bring it down to Sash, and then C-Dot goes for Bullet Seed, and the first one pickpockets my Life Orb, and then Carvana dies, but C-Dot dies to Life Orb. So in the end, it counted as Carvana picking up 3 kills, which was really nice. And yeah, so you're able to pick up our first game 1-0. Yeah, but hopefully I can bring you week 2 live commed. If not, I'll be sure to get it up post commed at least. So yeah. But until next time, Jesse504 out. Peace.